and welcome to our March 2026 Superintendent's Conference Day. It's so great to see so many familiar faces as we come together to learn, collaborate, and continue the important work we do for our students each and every day. And of course, today is the first day of spring, although when you stepped outside this morning, you might have thought, are we sure about that? Only in the Northeast do we celebrate the first day of spring while still wearing our winter coats and our sweaters. Around here, spring doesn't really arrive. It just kind of negotiates with winter for a few weeks before finally showing up. So I know probably in a couple of weeks we'll wake up and it will be 80 degrees out. In all seriousness, thank you for being here and for everything you do for our students and our school community each and every day. Your dedication and care really makes a difference in the work that you do on behalf of our kiddos. And at this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome our Board of Education colleagues this morning. Thank you on behalf of all of us for the support that you provide us each and every day to do our jobs. Again, thank you, and it's now my pleasure to welcome a very talented group of our students. Please join me in welcoming the combined 8th and 9th grade band for this morning's performance. Let's give them a warm round of applause.
Sayalonga. I play the oboe, and I'm also involved in the middle school musical theater, Odyssey of the Mind, National Junior Honor Society, and I run track and cross country. The first song we played for you was Baba Yetu. This Grammy Award-winning piece by Christopher Tin was originally composed for the video game Civilization 4 and arranged for the band by Douglas Wagner.
Hello, my name is Girish Balakrishnan, and I play the saxophone. Currently, I'm involved in Math Honor Society, track and field, and cross country. For our second and final piece, we will be playing Tomorrow's Celebration by Randall Standridge. The piece begins with a fanfare of brass, which then leads to a pop groove with syncopated melodies that feature many of our instruments. We would like to thank all of our current and former teachers for helping us celebrate our tomorrow, doing all you can to give us a bright future.
Deputy Superintendent, Ms. McKenna, for providing me with greetings and introductions. And I want to thank, and I am biased, I was a band kid. I was not nearly as good as that. I thought I was, not even close. We're talking about 8th and 9th graders, folks. Like, a round of applause again for the incredible performance. And it goes without saying, our music staff is second to none. What you pour into our kids comes forth on that stage, and we appreciate you more than you know. Remember, these are kids who did not have to get out of bed this morning. My kids are home enjoying Superintendent's Conference Day, waved me out of the door very happily. So we truly appreciate it, and I think you noticed some of our own staff members up there. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work that you do. So, we are going to be brief with Dr. Wilson Turner today, which I'm very excited about, in order to bring you more student voice today. And so I forgot, honestly, to put in our mission slide. And as I sat there listening to the children, I remembered that that needs to be there every single time we come together. Just like our students need to be centered every single time that we come together. And it's not just for entertainment that we put them on the stage, it's so that you can see the fruits of your labor in so many different ways. As the students got up there and spoke about all the other things that they're involved in, when they find time for practice, who knows, it represents, again, all the work that you do as a district. And so, it is very fitting that today we also induct some staff to the new Commitment to Excellence Award. And so there are 3 staff members, one of whom couldn't be here tonight, or today, but if you are here, I ask that you do come forward, who will be acknowledged this year for their commitment to excellence. So if Karen Simone, Crystal Perno, and Lisa McLaughlin, if you're here, please come forward. Well, give her a minute while I start reading. I know I saw her. I'm going to read. So Karen Simone has been a Gowanus school counselor for 16 years. She is being awarded the Shen Commitment to Excellence Award due to her efficiency, extensive involvement in the school community, and her dedicated service to Shenendahowa students. As a respected go-to counselor leader, she has been a vital member of numerous committees, including the Counseling Advisory Council, the Student Council Advisor, and SAGA Club, while proactively spearheading new programs to ensure a consistent and strong student experience. Her commitment is further demonstrated by her early championing of restorative practices, her leadership in Seek Camp and Shen Summer Adventures, and her initiative to establish the 6th grade summer orientation, which ran for the first time last year. Karen is a steadfast advocate who encourages students to develop self-advocacy skills, ensured all students were included during the challenges of COVID-19, and co-facilitates the quarterly Gowanus Pride Awards. Her actions embody the Shen mission, having made an indelible impact on thousands of lives. So I'm actually going to ask Matt to come forward and take that on behalf of Karen. It's like the Academy Awards. Next, we have Crystal Perno. Crystal, who's a science teacher for us, personifies Shenendahowa's commitment to excellence, consistently going above and beyond to improve her teaching, assist others, and make Shenendahowa a better place. She routinely spends her summers in teacher externships, bringing those experiences back to Shen to enhance her own teaching and provide invaluable support for her colleagues in planning and implementing engaging lessons. Crystal readily steps up to assist with hiring committees, demo lessons, and providing support for new teachers at Shen. Her dedication significantly impacts outcomes for the district and for others. Crystal is a role model who exceeds expectations and goes beyond the call of duty each day, making Shenendahowa a better place to learn, grow, and work. So congratulations to Crystal. And is Jean Roach? And we will get that to Crystal. And then last, but certainly not least, is Lisa McLaughlin. Lisa is an exceptional 6th grade teacher aide at Coda Middle School. She is being recognized for her unwavering dedication, compassion, and belief in every student's potential. She consistently goes above and beyond to support learners through creative problem-solving and collaboration with staff, handling even the most challenging situations with grace. Her selfless work ethic and ability to anticipate student needs have earned her deep respect from her colleagues, making her a natural leader and an invaluable member of the school community. Beyond the classroom, she actively participates in extracurricular programs like the walking club and mentoring, significantly shaping both student success and the overall school culture. Ultimately, Lisa's profound impact and commitment to an inclusive environment makes her a true asset to the entire district. Congratulations, Lisa. Rose, you want to come up and take that down? And any high school admin, I think Mr. A is in the back, but can come up and take Crystal's. Mr. A. So as you see, today provides an opportunity to center our students and our incredible staff. And now, just a few public service announcements from me before I turn it over to our incredible student panel today. So I told Drew I didn't need a lav, so I'm going sideways because I do move. Because I do just want to share with you a few things. I want to give you a brief update on ATRIA, and I want to talk a little bit about budget before we introduce our student panel. ATRIA is opening in the fall of 2026. And an incredible amount of work has gone into it, both physically inside the building and externally as our teachers and staff work to think of all the things that need to be in place for the building. And so in a second, I'm just going to flip through some pictures to prove to you that there is stuff happening inside the building. Despite the fact being covered in snow for the last 6 months, it looks like nothing has happened. But the minute the snow melted, we got to see this. So the construction crews actually were able to be outside, paving the different parking lots that they have to make. This is the district office parking lot, and they will progress their way over around the perimeter of the building to create the visitor parking lot, the staff parking lot, and the main entrances to the school. This, my friends, is not a rendering. This is the real thing. This is a third floor classroom in ATRIA right now at this moment in time. And it is gorgeous in person. These babies are not going to know what hit them when they walked into this beautiful space. And then they're going to expect that everywhere they go. So there's a tremendous amount of storage. There are little teeny things that are their size. There's a bathroom just for them in the room, which I know our kindergarten teachers appreciate. There is even a little sink that sits outside of that bathroom that has to go in there. A lot of storage because kindergartners need lots of things. And a beautiful window view in every single classroom. The classrooms are over 900 square feet, and it is a lot of space for the children to be in. So I want to thank our digital media specialist, Brooke, for going on a tour with me and grabbing all these photos so you could see it in real time, and just a little video to give you a feel for it. This is one of the rooms I think the kindergarten teachers were most excited to see, and that's the multi-purpose room. This is pretty much done. They just have to put the floor and the ceilings in, right? But it's going to be an open space that's going to be staged with what we call play-based learning centers, right? So think of setting up a mini Target, going to the grocery store. All of the fun things that kindergartners get to do to learn their social emotional learning skills will be supported in this space, and it is a massive space that will be used multiple ways. And this may not look as exciting as it is, but the first time I walked down the corridor and it looked like a corridor with actual tiles was when it felt real. I'm like, you can visualize students walking down the hallway, and I'm just gonna shout out the tile contractors. They are probably the fastest ones in the building. You go down a hallway one day that doesn't have tile, the next day it is completely tiled. Every bathroom is tiled. So they are hustling and making everybody else step their game up as well. So again, just flooring and ceiling tiles, and then this is done, but they won't do that until everybody's done walking all over the floor. So that's the fun part. And our budget, despite us having to open a brand new building, is in really good shape at this point in time. We do have to add a significant number of staff in order to open a new school building. We will add 72 staff in our budget, 63 of which are for a TRIA, but a TRIA will have over 100 staff members in it, which means, if you look at the bullet a little bit lower, that we are reallocating staff based on enrollment, right? We're taking kids out of the elementary buildings, and some resources will need to follow them, and we've started having those conversations as to when those resources will be reallocated. But our budget, which is wonderful if you're paying attention to the climate of budget in school districts right now, is in really good shape, because we are adding staff, and we are maintaining programming, and we're even enhancing programming just a little bit at each level. We have new courses that will come on board for the high school. We have some work that we're doing with middle school, and we have a new STEM enrichment class for elementary schools. So I'm not giving a detailed budget presentation this morning because I or Kathy Wetmore Chase will be at every faculty meeting over the next couple of weeks on the Budget Roadshow. We'll be at every PTA council meeting, and we'll be out in the community so that everybody understands that we have a very positive budget that's going to offer a lot of resources to our students, in addition to welcoming our youngest learner to their first full-day kindergarten experience. Tax levy is 2.52%. It's about 1% less than it has been in the last few years, and it shows our commitment to continuing to provide quality programming without having a significant tax increase or burden on our community. And now to the good stuff. So a few weeks ago, Vicki, I'm good on time?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because I want to give as much time to this as possible. Not a few weeks ago, a few months ago, actually back in July, Ms. Wild, Ms. Bleha, and Mr. Davis and I had an opportunity to go to an artificial intelligence symposium at SUNY. And one of the presentations there was a student panel of kids from elementary school to high school, completely run by students. And they talked about the implications of artificial intelligence on their lives at home and at school. They talked about the different ways their teachers used it, what was helpful, what they found least helpful. And to Vicki's delight, I turned to her and said, this is going to be a superintendent's conference day for us, because we have kids who absolutely can do this. And so I appreciate Mrs. Wild so very much, because she said, sure, just not September, okay? And so we planned for March. And she worked with the Professional Learning Committee, thank you to all of you who participate, to identify students who could come to the stage today and not just talk about AI, but talk about what the learning experience is like here at Shenendehowa. And my hope for you today is that you feel incredibly validated by the students who are on the stage and the things that they say teachers do that support them. And I also hope that you take away something today that you can do differently that adds to how you continue to honor student voice in our classrooms. When people talk about student voice, sometimes I think they believe it's, well, we're just gonna let the kids tell us what to do about everything, right? Because that's what this generation does. And that's not what student voice is at all. Student voice is about hearing students, listening to students, and figuring out how to incorporate their needs into what we do every day, right? Because we're in service to them. It's why we all get to come to work every single day. And so when we do that, when we center students and we hear them, they feel seen, they feel included, and they belong. And that is central to our goal as an organization, is to make sure that everyone in our organization knows that they are supposed to be here, any way or shape or form that they show up, and that we're going to be here to support them, see them, and make sure they have the best possible experience. Listening to our students allows us to do that, and I think if you've gotten to know me over the last few years, you know that's the only reason I stand at this podium, is that because we get to serve children every day and change the trajectory of lives and ultimately the community that they will go out and shape. So as you listen to them today, please hear all the incredible things that you do. Please hear all the opportunities it presents to you, and let us all continue to center our students and their needs. Let us all continue to elevate and celebrate our staff who center their students and our needs, and let's continue our commitment to excellence and making the district the best that we can so that we continue to produce the incredible students you will see today. Ms. Wild?
So if you'll bear with us for just a moment, take a look at the graphic that's on the screen. Our students are going to come up and get themselves settled, and we'll get started in just a second. This is a valuable opportunity to hear firsthand about the school and classroom experiences that our Shenandoah High School students have, and to gather insights that are going to help guide our work throughout the year. So as Dr. Wilson Turner asked, please really listen. Pat yourself on the back for the things that you hear that you know that you're doing, but if you hear something that you think, hey, I could take that into my practice and I could make a change, we welcome that as well. So I'm going to ask our facilitators to begin by introducing themselves, and then they will pass it on down the line. Every student will introduce themselves, tell you what grade they are in, and then we'll get started with the questions.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Maddie Hirsch. I'm a junior at Shen High School.
Hi guys, my name is Francesca Erickson and I'm also a junior at Shen.
Hi everybody, my name is Maddie Andrus and again, I am also a junior.
Hello, my name is Tin Chak Zhang and I'm guessing you sense a pattern. I'm also a junior.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena Liao and I'm also a junior.
Hi, my name is Raja Patton, and surprise, I'm also a junior.
Hi, my name is Lorenzo Di Pasquale, and I am a sophomore.
Hi, my name is Caitlin McNamara, and to get back on track, I'm also a junior.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Clark, and I'm a sophomore.
Good morning everyone, my name is Avni Jayanand and I'm a junior as well.
Good morning everyone, I'm Ayla Duval and I'm a junior.
Good morning, my name is Colin Farquharson and I'm a sophomore.
As we get started today, we also wanted to point out, like Dr. Wilson Turner said, that this isn't just a complaint session and we're not trying to just say everything that you're doing is wrong, and that we're just trying to share our own opinions on the situation and give some feedback.
So as we proceed farther into this, I wanted to give you a general roadmap on where we're going to be going. So the idea is that we're going to approach three main themes, which are instruction, belonging, and balance, and trying to figure out how those all kind of harmoniously fit into the student and overall Shen experience.
It's like I'm juggling over here. Okay, so over the past few weeks, our student panel has had the opportunity to peruse through the thoughtful questions provided by Shen staff. But all of these can be gathered under one seemingly simple overarching question, which is just, what is it like being a student at Shenandoah? So we urge you to keep that in mind as we explore the complexities within this question. So now, as you heard, many of us on this stage are sophomores and juniors. With each passing year and new course, we experience new teaching styles that can often differ from class to class. I'd like to hear from the panelists about their experience with differing grades and feedback in the classroom. Give it over to Caitlin.
Hi. So something that I really wanted to talk about today is a lot of the times teachers give us like Google Forms or sheets to fill out and say what will help us in the classroom to learn better. But I've noticed a pattern of teachers not taking this information and adding it to their teaching ways. And I feel like it would be very good for the students to be able to fully engage in what they're learning if what they need to help them excel is implemented in the classrooms. I'd like to add on to this by saying that a lot of teachers have a specific teaching style that they implement throughout all of their classrooms that they've been implementing for years, and sometimes this works really well for students because it exactly matches their learning technique, but at the same time, there's 20 plus kids in a classroom, so one teaching style can't work for every student. And I understand that it's difficult to match each student, but at the same time that teachers should maybe ask their students and figure out what the learning standard is for each of them and figure out how they can change up the assignments that they do by class so that each student in each class can better understand the material and it's not just stuck in the same pattern.
While teaching style also differs between class to class, I've also noticed grading differences from class to class, just talking to my friends who are in the same course I'm in but may have a different teacher. And I think finding a way to like standardize grades even more, or a different system to standardize grades, would like help students feel a lot better, because I noticed like if depending on the teacher, you know, I might get points marked off more than I would if I had a different teacher.
Yeah, I really agree with the grading there, because not even just the same course throughout the years. If I put this in an essay, sometimes a teacher likes it, but if I put it in an essay for another teacher, they might take points off it, saying it isn't up to grade level or something like that. So it's important to keep an open mind about what we've learned in the past.
All right, Lorenzo.
One thing I have to add on, Keelan mentioned these sort of like forms or surveys that teachers give out, and I've noticed that oftentimes they ask like a more linear sort of question, like if you'd rather have a more lecture-based style of learning or a more like hands-on activity type of learning. And I think that asking a question like this just isn't as productive, because you'll end up with a sort of 50-50 answer, and you'll kind of have to, I think it's just more important that you like diversify your teaching styles overall instead of leaning into one after asking a survey like that.
So in terms of teaching styles, I'm a very big advocate of project-based learning. If any of you guys have heard that before, I'm assuming you have. I feel as though any way that we can make our teaching styles more immersive or hands-on really helps students know what impact they have and why their learning matters. I think a lot of the times students struggle with the fact that they don't know why they're doing what they're doing, or what purpose they have for going into the world and doing all of these assignments. But I think that when you have a project and a definitive goal, it might take more work to execute, but the payoff is really worth it in the end. Going forward, our next subject we'll be addressing is AI. I have some teachers that love it, and I have some teachers that absolutely despise it. So we'll be pivoting to our panelists about that now.
Okay, so similar to what Francesca said about project-based learning, we got a bunch of questions from staff about the value of Socratic seminars. And I think while AI and Socratic seminars may be seemingly unrelated, I think there's a lot of parallel in the invaluable experience you get when talking face-to-face with peers. I think that's very valuable to me. And in not losing sight of that as AI becomes more common in the classroom, I think is really key.
Yeah, so like Francesca said, I've witnessed all of my teachers either having a positive stance on AI or like absolutely against AI. And I'm not saying that you have to change up your teaching style or anything, but I think that students should know whether or not it's responsible to use AI. Because I've witnessed people using AI for things that they should not be using it on, like tests, essays, and stuff. But I do think that AI could be helpful when you're doing like homework or essay planning, not necessarily writing a whole essay.
Yeah, so with AI, I think it's definitely important we're not just plugging in math equations and putting the answer into the homework, but instead maybe using it to go more in depth on a topic you're learning in class. And even since it'll never say that I don't know, it'll give you an answer even if it isn't right. So going to your teacher with the information that you get from AI can be good to see if this applies to what you're learning in class.
Thank you, everyone. For our next segment, we'll now be going into the belonging section. So what really makes our classroom a community? There's been a lot of discourse about how to make students feel truly involved and seen. So now we will be pivoting to our panelists.
Thank you. One thing that I really love about the classrooms here at Chen is how welcoming they are, and not just the teachers, but also the students. And I think a major part of that is having group projects and facilitating class-wide discussions. Having students talk to each other in an educational environment is beneficial to their social development as well. And I think that's really something that's quite nice about Chen.
I really believe that like when a teacher gets to know a student, not only just as their student, but as their true self, it really leads to a better classroom community because they develop a stronger connection, which not only helps them talk to their teachers, it helps them academically because you may be more ample to talk to a teacher about or maybe schedule meetings with a teacher about something or take their advice more to heart if you are have a strong relationship with the teacher. So I feel like that's very important.
I think that a strong connection with the teacher is good. Like teachers that show that they care about their students, it's someone that we would most likely want to talk to. But I think that it's also important to think about overstepping. And I see some faculty members may have strong bonds with students, but I think that they have to make sure that it doesn't get in the way of the student's safety and in the way of the code of conduct. So I think it's very important that no matter how much you like a student, you should still make sure that they're getting treated the same as everyone else.
I think as far as belonging, I've noticed in some classes, obviously you'll have more reserved students who aren't as often a part of the conversation. And I think it's important that teachers work on bringing those students into class conversations and sort of getting them more involved, because I've noticed that there's sort of students who don't speak up as much, and they kind of end up left out of class discussions and things like that.
Thank you all for that section. Next, we'll be moving on to the next portion, the second part, which is based upon workload and how much in the balance between your life outside of school and your life inside of school. A lot of these students that we have today are part of the Senate or other clubs that take up a lot of your time, and then outside of the club that they're here for, many students do athletics and they have outside jobs and they have family and religious requirements that they need to do. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about those requirements and how to balance that and how for teachers to see that themselves. Where's Raja?
I noticed that I take so many classes, and I don't even have a study hall, and so do so many other students. And yes, that is our choice, and I understand that, but there's also, those have to do with our passion and what we want to do with our career in life. And it'd be nice if teachers would be mindful of those classes that we take, and that would lighten the load a lot. Additionally, I work, I'm scheduled for a shift tonight, and so many students work multiple jobs sometimes and also go on college tours or sports tournaments that last the whole weekend. So it'd be nice if teachers wouldn't jump to assign so much homework over the weekends because they think we have extra time, when really we might have less time than we would on weekdays.
Yeah, so I'm in a bunch of college-level AP courses, and I'm fortunate enough that my teachers have never assigned me so much work in one night. But it occasionally does happen, and it's a lot of work to do. I'm also in a bunch of other clubs, like Odyssey of the Mind, the Professional Learning Committee, Senate, Key Club, and more. And sometimes it's just a lot to do in one night. I think teachers should understand that students, or their students, have a lot more work to do than what it looks like on the outside.
A really big thing for me is sports. I love playing baseball, and so I get to do that after school every day. But when I come home, I do really have a lot of work, almost an hour from my harder classes. And sometimes it's hard for me to find time to either just spend with my family outside of having dinner or something like that. And it turns into, when is this due? Okay, I'll do it the night before, just trying to get some rest. So.
One of the questions that I saw on the Google document that a lot of teachers asked was about homework and how they can make it meaningful for their students. And I just wanted to weigh in on that in terms of work-life balance. So homework in general has a lot of mixed reviews. I don't necessarily always want to do my homework, but I think it really sometimes could be beneficial for the type of classes that you're taking. And it helps you learn. So I think it's really important to keep in mind what kind of course that a teacher is teaching. And based on that, they have to think about what a student's needs is and needs are, and also what the teacher knows works. Because in the end, what we're learning, what we're trying to teach is content, and that comes from not only the teacher, but also the student. So making homework meaningful doesn't mean setting up a lot of homework, a lot of busy work, but instead it means maybe less homework and more important homework, more homework that makes students want to learn and learn more about what they're doing and why they're doing those things instead of just setting homework for homework. Yeah.
Yeah, so my answer was actually eerily similar to Colin's, because as soon as I leave here, I hop on a bus and I go to Hainers for a 2.5-hour practice, Monday through Friday. And it takes a toll not only physically, but mentally. So when I get home, it's kind of a trouble to just go home and just do busy work. So I feel like it's kind of going along with her. It's a lot to maintain, so I think that assigning homework just for the sake of it isn't exactly smart, but I believe that homework that is supposed to develop your learning in the class is very helpful.
Thank you for the workload portion of that. I'd also like to add on that in my personal experience that I do a lot of extracurricular activities and I take a lot of higher courses like honors and APs, and I believe this is because there's so much pressure on students to do extracurriculars and do more athletics and to really bust up that resume so that it can carry you forward into college or whatever you move on to. And then along with, you need to do more academics and you need to do more extracurriculars, it adds so much on top of a student's schedule that's just something that a teacher kind of needs to put themselves in the shoes of a student and understand that there's once the hours from 7 to 3 are done, there's still much more at Shen that students participate in.
Thank you. So going on from the extracurricular piece, we're going to go into more of the workload from class to class. So sometimes, as Ayla said before, even the exact same course can vary from teacher to teacher. Even if the amount of work is the exact same, the way it's structured can be completely different. So we're going to hear from our panelists next.
Thank you. So while I was listening to the other panelists talk, I was picking up a lot of complaints about busy work, and I definitely have those complaints myself. But one thing that I really like this year in the classes that I'm taking is the fact that homework isn't necessarily graded by accuracy. In my AP Chem class, homework really isn't graded at all, it's just practice. And my teacher, Miss Kinsella, she makes a little list of Chem Express questions, I think it was, where it was if you don't have time to do all the questions, here are the ones that you absolutely must hit. And I think that is genuinely so helpful, because there are days where I'm just really busy and I need to knock out some chem because I have a quiz the next day and I really need to practice. But I think having that sort of homework for practice and having it be not graded on accuracy or just not being busy work is just such a lovely idea.
Thank you. Moving all the way on down to the end.
Hello, everyone. I take all college-level classes this year, and so the workload that comes along with that is expected, like it's the classes I chose to take. But what I found really helps me is when teachers give me assignments like way in advance before they're due. This allows me to find time in my schedule to get these done, and so I'm not cramming and waiting to the last minute, especially also being a competitive dancer. This past weekend I had a dance competition, and I counted between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I spent 26 hours there at the Palace Theater, and so I was able to like stay on track and continue this week because a lot of my teachers give me my work in advance, and so I didn't have to cram it all in at 12 o'clock at night on Saturday.
I would also agree about having assignments assigned in advance. I believe that most of the issue of workload is maybe not even how much of it there is, but again, structure. In my classes where it's structured and I can anticipate what assignments are going to come, when they're going to come, I find that it's much easier for me to maintain a balance between that and my personal life. When I'm taking classes where I feel as though assignments have just been sprung up on me and I had really no way of gauging the time commitment that it would be, I definitely feel like my school experience is a little bit more imbalanced.
My biggest thing as far as like work like that is having things posted like ahead of time so that we have, if I know that in 3 weeks I have a project due and then like a few days after that I have like 3 or 4 different homework assignments, if I can have that information in advance and have the teachers sort of release that work before, honestly even before we like cover it in like a class or something, just so we have access to know what's coming up, I think that'd be very helpful just because there's a lot of times where I'll end up very overloaded with work, and it's not always sort of the teacher assigning too much, it's a lot of coincidental things between classes where they'll both have work at the same time that ends up being due.
Thank you. So I think we have a little bit extra time here. So we're going to go into our questions that we got specifically from the staff, and we'll start off with Maddie.
Hi, everybody. One of the questions that we got is to how to promote more diversity and how to be really inclusive of a lot of different students, like we talked about before, what they do outside of school and really just what their personal life is like, because, you know, as teachers, you see students so frequently and you are impacted so much on their lives because of how much students are at school. And in my personal opinion and in my personal experience, I would say that the best way that a teacher can really be inclusive and understand a student best is maybe not by like going like super deep diving in and like really trying to figure out the specifics of anything, but honestly just asking a student how their day was or what are you doing over spring break, because those little conversations that you have with the student can really make them feel like, wow, like this teacher really cares about me and this teacher, you know, wants to know what I'm doing outside of school. Or when a teacher asks how was, you know, the musical this weekend, it really goes like, wow, like that teacher is paying attention to me and cares about like what I'm doing outside of the class, and it really fosters the connection. And when you have that fostered connection, then that student is able to go to the teacher for other issues that they might have, and it just makes a better school environment for, I believe, both the teacher and the student.
Okay, my question was, what is one adulting skill or real-world topic that's not in the curriculum but is important? Right now, I'm taking a class that isn't required, but I think that every student would benefit from it, and it's financial literacy, and it's also known as Money Matters. And I think this is good for every single student because you get to learn how to do your taxes, you get to learn how to pay for college, and many other things that involve money, which we don't really get taught in any other class. So I think that's something that some people might not learn from their parents or other adult figures in their life. That's really good to learn for when they're in the real world.
Thank you.
The question that I got was a really pressing one currently. It's about the cell phone policy. and how students in general are feeling about, not having their phones during class. And I obviously have a very specific opinion about this, but I tried to get a lot of people's opinions and kind of like condense it into something that I can talk about here today. So as a general consensus, students really don't like having their phones taken away. However, it is a statewide policy, so we do have to follow it. It's a law. It's a law. My bad. It's a law. So I would just like to talk about that although students don't really, like this policy, I think that what it's doing is that the students that were on their phones initially and not listening to their not listening to their teachers, those people are continuing to be on their phone. And they find loopholes in the rules that teachers have put down, and they are on their phones anyway. And the people that, were listening to their teachers, and the people that were not on their phones in the first place are not on their phones now either. So I don't think it's making that big of a difference, but in general, in order to increase or improve student involvement in class, I do think that teachers have to be very specific about how they are implementing these rules, what their expectations of the students are in terms of their cell phones. I just think it should be very clear what students and teachers should be doing. And yeah, in general, whatever your rules are for your classroom, please make sure that the students know exactly what they have to do in order to, follow the cell phone policy in your specific class. That's all I have to say.
So the question that I plan to address was how to lower stress without lowering academic standards. This is something that I've considered for a while, especially because a couple months ago, I had an assignment where I was challenged to advocate about something, and I chose just that. The issue with this is that students are always going to be taking AP classes, they're always going to be doing extracurriculars, there's always going to be some level of stress. I think the way that we tackle that is not so much trying to minimize the stress, but not making it baseless stress. Again, this relates to my whole thing about project-based learning and interactivity. I think a lot of the times, kids don't understand why they're even meant to be dealing with this much stress. I've realized that when kids have a sense of purpose and a sense of self-worth, they feel motivated, and their stress doesn't just feel meaningless, it feels empowering. And I think one of the ways that we can do that is maybe not just with interactive learning, but I would like to propose doing things like maybe academic workshops to try and see where kids can really find their passion and motivation and work towards it. I feel as though a lot of people kind of just float around school, maybe not understanding what their purpose is. And little steps like this just every day kind of help us get closer to addressing that question of why do we learn and why is education important? Why does it matter? Thank you.
The question that I got asked was, how does Shen help prepare us for our careers in life after high school? And I do believe that Shen does a really good job at that. However, there are some improvements that could be made. I think a good lesson that could be taught was how to build a resume or how to apply for jobs and what to say during an interview. And I don't think we go too deep into that, but if we got a little extra help with that early on, it would really help us stand out in the workforce.
Okay, so to close, we're all going to give a one piece of advice to all of the staff in the building. We can start on this end.
Thank you. My piece of advice would be making your expectations both students and teacher very clear and what you want to get out of the course very clear.
My piece of advice would be to have fun with it. I know teaching is a stressful job, and I'm not holding it against any of my teachers. I know it's hard to teach several different blocks of the same class over and over, and I want you to know that you guys are doing a good job at it.
Thank you guys for hearing us and listening to our perspective. I'd say just take your students' concerns seriously and to heart.
My piece of advice would be to just sort of make sure you develop relationships with the students and kind of understand what their life is like and kind of develop that deeper understanding of what they do every day.
I think that what we said today should be thought about and try to implement it into teaching styles and how you talk to your students, and make sure to have connections with them that makes them feel loved.
My piece of advice would be to definitely get to know your students, not just on a educational level, but on a personal level, because that just makes the process enjoyable for everyone.
I think being a teacher is, especially considering we have so many shortages in teachers currently in the world today, being a teacher is really respectable and honorable, and you guys are doing great out there. I look up to my teachers, I respect them, and I see them as individuals that I can tell things, to. So I think just keep doing what you're doing and, try to learn as well as the students try to learn in your classes.
My piece of advice I kind of already mentioned, but giving assignments far in advance so students have ample time to get things done, but also finding a way to visually represent this by as simple as putting in a calendar and putting in assignments on each day, and it really helps me to visually see when everything is done so I can get it done in a timely manner.
My piece of advice would be that your students know how much you care about them outside of school and actually about their life.
Thank you, everyone. My piece of advice would just to be lead and make decisions with the wisdom and experience you've gained as an educator, but never lose sight of the empathy and curious perspective that you had when you were sitting at the desk.
My piece of advice would be to have these kinds of questions and answer session with your own students, because most of us here are juniors in high school, and there's so many other students within this district, and we're only, 15 perspectives, and there's 2,500 just in high school East alone. So I believe that my piece of advice would be to ask these questions to your own students, so then you can figure out the best way to help them learn.
My piece of advice would again be to give students meaningful work, a caring community, and just a reason to believe that their learning matters and that they matter.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We had an amazing time talking to you. Have a great day.
I'm going to ask our panelists to stand up and take a little bow. And an extra round of applause for our facilitators.
So hello again. I want to thank the students for taking the time to be with us this morning and to look out into the audience and see their beloved teachers and still share their perspective and what their experience here is at Shen. And I understand that some of that for some people was difficult to hear, And I'm thinking about what to say to that, because perception and perspective does matter. And if that's what they're experiencing, we heard it. Doesn't mean that it's true in every single situation or space, but it gives us an opportunity to hear, I heard things that you all are doing amazing. And I think they acknowledged that, and they also took the opportunity to share the things that could work better for them and things that have worked better for them in different spaces. And I really didn't want to get up here and say anything after the students because I wanted them to speak for themselves. I appreciate all the teachers who submitted additional questions for them to answer and your genuine interest in what your students are thinking. And I think, I don't want to assume it goes without saying, we 100% appreciate everything that you do every day as you try to figure out and navigate every new student that comes into your classroom every single solitary year, and knowing that they all need something different and that those needs evolve. So I appreciate those of you who are able to stay and listen and hear them out, and to really hear what they're trying to tell us. And like I said when I opened, student voice isn't about us doing everything kids tell us to do. That's not what it is. It is about hearing their voice, seeing things the way that they see them, and then figuring out how we help them navigate. I heard kids are carrying a heavy caseload, right? They're signing up for lots of things. There's this pressure coming from different places, and a lot of times it's not coming from us. That pressure to build that resume, to get into the best college, to do 75,000 things, and really how we as the educators help them manage all the things that they're trying to manage because they trust you all. They trust you all to have their best interest in mind. They trust that if they tell you something, that you're going to help them navigate it. And they trust that we are all here for their good, despite whatever else may be happening in their lives. So I hope you were able to hear them. I hope you were able to hear where you do things incredibly well. I hope you were able to hear where we have opportunities to continue to enhance their experience. And I hope no one walks away today feeling like today was to be against anyone in any particular way, but today was really just to hear our students. And if you feel differently, I'll hang back and you can come and you can tell me. I have no problem whatsoever having that conversation, but the students did an incredible job today standing up in front of you, and I want to thank them for that. I told you Karen Simone was here, and so I'm going to ask Karen to come forward and really get her award.
So, unusually, we're a little ahead of schedule. So let me remind you that our instructional staff workshops and meetings begin at 9:40, and our support staff workshops and meetings begin at 9:45. We will have snacks and water in the satellite cafeteria. And if you have any questions at all about confirming your sessions or attendance, we do have a support station set up in the lobby. Thank you and have a great day of learning.